We're not the only ones working hard on the job site. We've got some termites that have been busy as well. They've eaten away over 30 feet of sill. So today, we're going to deal with the termites and the carpenter ants.
And we're going to begin framing some new walls on the first floor.
I'm going to show you how to take the dip out of our kitchen floor without removing the floorboards.
So for weeks, we have been taking our house apart. We've been removing asbestos and lead. We've been taking down walls. And now it is time to start rebuilding. And I guess the new lumber says it all. We're going to start putting this house back together again. A couple weeks ago, we actually poured some new foundations out back and out front here. We used insulated concrete forms. And this is going to be a new, very spacious and sun-drenched entryway. No longer is the door going to be tucked behind here. We are going to bring it out, and this is going to be a grand way to enter our house. And Tommy, you got another way to enter our house, it appears.
I did.
You had a big hole in it.
Well, Kevin, we got a lot of work to do on this wall. First of all, this big window that's in the kitchen is actually going to be repositioned. So we have to restructure this whole part of the wall right here. Look, I got a lot of stuff that had to come out of here. We made a big door here, a straight run to the dumpster. It's safer and more efficient.
Yeah, it's not a door, though. It's just a hole.
It's a doorway, all right?
All right, so the kitchen, which wasn't much, 1940s original, it is gone, and it was really a narrow space.
Right, here's where the wall was right here, and then the refrigerator and a cabinet where you were. It was a small place.
And it was a yellow space, too. All these cabinets, well, here you can see it right here. This is the last of the yellow, but this entire kitchen was just a wall of yellow cabinets.
Right. Now, I'm in the old dining room right here. This room is going to be part of the new kitchen now. This is all new.
A big island right here, and there's still some debate as to whether or not the stove goes in the island or elsewhere.
Yeah, they're still talking about that.
All right.
Now, there's going to be a door right here leading to the porch, and an 8-foot opening right here that's going to bring you into this space right here. That's going to be the new dining room.
So we will keep a formal dining room.
Absolutely.
Right. And you really did a lot of work here in the front. A lot of walls came down, didn't they?
Yeah, the wall right here came down. The entryway hall wall came down here, and all this over here, gone.
All right, so now we've got a new connection, entry hall right there, coming into a mudroom right here.
Right, now there's a doorway. You're in the mudroom. You can actually see this tape on the floor designates the wall. Sink's going to be here. I'm actually walking into the new half bath. It's kind of small. There's going to be a window right here behind you.
Man, that is a really small bathroom.
Yeah, it's kind of tight. I think I would probably make it a little bit wider.
Yeah, well, you don't have two little kids and all the stuff that they come with,
yeah,
so I can appreciate what they're going for there. All right, so it looks like it is time to start rebuilding?
Yes, but now before these walls came down and when the kitchen was still in place, I noticed a couple of things that really bothered me. First of all, this floor pitched down when you stood at the sink. It was unlevel. And right here in the middle of the floor, there's actually a dip, and it actually recesses down about 3/8 of an inch, three-quarters of an inch.
Look at that ball go.
Yeah. So what
right.
I want to do is I want to pull this floor up in the middle, and I want to correct this angle or slope right here.
And that's what we're going to get started on now?
That's what we're going to get started on.
All right.
So Kevin, we have to pull all the nails in the joist, and the joists always run perpendicular to the subfloor.
All right, and you're thinking that these joists right here are actually dipped, which is causing this floor to fall down here.
Exactly, about 3/4 of an inch.
All right.
With the nails pulled from the subfloor, you can see that the boards are loose and away from the joist. Now we have to hold the boards up to take the dip out of the floor. To do that, we're going to sister some pieces of 2x4 right along the side of the joist. Now before we put the 2x4 in place, I want to run a bead of construction adhesive right across the top, and that will glue it to the underside of the subfloor.
And how do we hold it in place?
Well, I'm going to actually hold it in place temporarily. I want you to grab a screw gun and screw down through the subfloor, holding it up.
All right, I'll head upstairs.
Okay.
All right, where are you, Tommy?
Right here.
Ah, good, I got you. All right, push it up.
All right, I'm going to push it up with another 2x.
All right, screwing it down. First screw coming in.
Try to get one on each end.
All right, you should be good.
Here we go, another one on this side.
Center.
Yep.
Beam side.
Okay. All right, all of our 2x4s are attached to the underside of the subfloor.
All set.
Okay, now the next thing we have to do is to figure out how far up we want to bring the subfloor. To do that, we're going to use a string line and a few nails.
There you go.
Okay, now take the string down and pull it real tight and wrap it around the other nails that we've already placed on the floor. Nice and tight, Kevin.
Good.
Okay, now take it over to that second one way over. Wrap it around that. Again, keep it tight. Now go all the way over to the other side of the room over here. Okay, keep it tight. I want to keep it tight and right at the base of the nail, too. Wrap.
All right, Tommy, all tied off.
All right, good. Now we put these 3 nails on this side of the room right over our foundation.
And these 3 right here?
They're over the carrying wall downstairs, so we know that this side of the room is straight and this side of the room is straight.
Basically high points on either end,
Right.
and then our low point is going to be somewhere here in the middle.
Right, and see this space right here? We actually want to bring this subfloor up to touches this line.
So we're going to jack up those 2x4s?
Yep, I'm going to jack them up. Now when I jack them up, I want you to watch the string.
All right, keep coming.
How we doing?
A little more, a little more. Hold it right there. All right, you're good.
Now I want to nail the 2x4 on the side right to my joist on each side of the jacking post. Now we'll move the jacking post over.
Keep coming, hold it. One more. Touching, good.
All right, I can see that the floor is touching all the string. That's a good thing. We've taken the dip out of this section of the room. Next thing we want to do is take the slope out of this side of the floor. Now there's a crawl space under here, so it's a little more difficult to work there. So what I want to do is take up these boards. There's only a half a dozen. We'll work from above. We'll put the 2x4 along the side, make it straight, and then we'll reattach these floorboards.
And when it looks as nice as this side, the homeowners are going to be thrilled. Nice and straight, Tom.
It does look good.
One of the challenges for this project was to create a proper entry. The original entry was tucked back, you could hardly see it, and it was hidden by these large shrubs, barely welcoming. So the solution is to build on a new space, a new entry. Now we started with a foundation last week, and I'll show you what's going to happen. There'll be a nice big door right here in the front with side lights, which will bring a lot of light into the space. There's going to be another window in this wing wall, and a nice big window in this wing wall. So it's going to be very bright and light. And there'll be a little bit of storage out here. But you don't want to store too much out here. You know how it gets with families these days. Everything gets dropped at the front door. So what we're going to have is additional space inside for the coats and the bags and everything that comes in and out of the house. Now you might recall that there was a bathroom right here. It had a linoleum floor. There was linoleum in the entryway. That's all gone. And Tom ripped up the oak flooring from the dining room and this area, removed any remaining flooring back to here, and then weaved in the salvaged flooring. So we're going to have a floor that's going to perfectly match the rest of the house. So now we're going to build our walls right on top of the new floor. Well, we're going to start with one of the powder room walls, Kevin, and it's a standard 2x4 wall. This is the shoe, this is going to be the plate, and the studs will run in between. Now we also have a door opening in this, so I've laid out all the necessary information. Now we're going to have a casing on the door, and I don't want to have half a casing, so I'm coming out at least 4.5 inches.
So we're looking at 2 king studs?
Right, stud, king stud, jack.
Yeah.
Rough opening for the door, another jack and a king stud, and then stud 16 inches on center.
So we know the layout, we just have to get the height.
Right, so I'm going to measure first on this end of the wall. And that is just have about 90 and an eighth. So let's measure the other end.
All right, and I've got, looks like 90 even.
All right, we'll go a little less, 89 and 7/8. Tommy's the cut man, let's give him the measurements.
And he's also got a cool helper.
Well, Tom, the floor to ceiling measurement is 89 and 7/8.
Okay, so the wall height is 89 and 7/8. To get the stud height, I have to subtract the top plate, which is 1.5 inches, and the bottom shoe, which is 1.5 inches. That would be 3 inches off of that. So time was, I would take my tape measure out, and I would hook it on a stud, and I'd say 89 and 7/8 minus 3 is 86 and 7/8. Mark one, move it over, mark another. Take my square, I'd mark 1, 2, 3, 4. Slide them out, take my skill saw, cut it out, push it back, slide it out, and so on down the line.
But tape measures and pencils are so old-fashioned.
So old-fashioned. I have a new tool.
Wait till you see this, Norm.
All right, my wall height is 89 inches and 7/8. All right, now I push start. My stop goes to 89 and 7/8. But I have to deduct for the top and bottom plate. I've programmed that in already, so I hit this little button right here, and it takes off 3 inches, 86 and 7/8.
Huh? How about that?
Talk about high tech.
So now all I do is I grab a stud, put it on the table, put it up against my stop, and I make a cut.
And you can cut 1,000 like that.
I can cut 1,000.
There goes 2 guys from the job site.
All right, this is part of the header assembly. All the short blocks or little studs are nailed in place. Now we can set it in, nail through the top plate. I'll nail it. All right, Kevin, I'm gonna get it under that strapping. This way. All right. The bottom over.
Tack it in. Another one over here. Okay. Now we'll plumb the wall up. All right, tap it out just a hair. Oh, no, the other way. One more. All right, all right. Okay, we gotta go towards Norm. Oh, all right. Oh, one more. All right, that's it. Now just put 1 tack up here into there. That's good. Now we gotta check the wall down the other end. All right, we just framed up a 2x4 wall that's gonna lead us into the closet. It's 3.5 inches thick and it's got a doorway in it. Now we wanna frame the wall that's gonna divide the bathroom to the closet. It's gonna be a 2x4 wall, but we wanna gain a couple of extra inches, so we're gonna show you how to do that. We've ripped down the header and the plate. We've made it 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. We're going to take the 2x4s and we're going to tip them on the side.
Wow, you are fighting for every inch, aren't you?
Every inch.
So that's going to actually save us, what, 2 inches on the thickness?
2 inches, that's right. Now we're going to nail the plate into the stud. Okay, let's put them off. There you go. All right, plumb it up.
Now with these 1.5 inch thick walls, we've gained 2 inches in the width of this closet and 2 inches in the depth.
And now we've got the return wall for the entrance to the mudroom. This will go in place, and I'll tell you what, every inch counts.
Sure does.
Sure does.
All right, so our first real walls. The major point of our renovation is to open up the house to views of this beauty right here, Boston's famous Charles River. Now, at this point, the river looks more like a lake, and that's because of a few major engineering projects. So we sent Richard to get to the bottom of the story.
Welcome to the Moody Street Dam, Richard.
Glad to be here.
This is basically the birthplace of the American Industrial Revolution.
Well, we're here on the Charles River, and our house is, what, about 2 miles up that way in the Lakes region.
That's right, and this dam creates the Lakes region, but that's not why it was put here. It was put here for the mill behind us.
What year was that mill done?
Around 1813, this mill went in, and they produced textiles there. The first time it was done on a mass scale in the United States.
You know, when you think about it, the country was started in 1776, mostly farming-based, and then the Industrial Revolution came, they needed power.
That's right.
So there would have been a water wheel inside there?
There would have been several water wheels, and there would have been power takeoffs, there would have been leather belts. It would have been quite a mechanical, interesting thing to see.
So this is pretty much the original dam?
Well, basically it is, and it still operates pretty much the same. I'd like to show you that right now.
All right.
We're going to take these long poles with a little hook on the end, and we're going to use these to pull out one of these flashboards. This would be the same way it would have been done 100, 200 years ago. Nice and easy.
All right, say when.
1, 2, 3. Nice and easy.
Hey, hey, look at that. I'm controlling nature.
Yep, you certainly are.
So when do you open these up?
Well, these will get opened up in the springtime if we have too much rain and we need to let the water level upriver down. Then we put them down the way we just did a little bit later in the season. This is how we would control the level of the water in the Lakes District.
When I think of the Charles River, this is what I think about the Charles River Basin. Boston on one side, Cambridge on the other. This is living.
Oh, I can't disagree with you on that. This is living. You know, you and about 1 million other people per year think of this as just a recreational playground.
Well, I tell you, the Charles River Basin is one of the things that makes Boston really a world-class city, having this natural beauty in the middle of downtown Boston.
Oh, it is definitely a world-class city, but there's nothing natural about this basin.
What do you mean?
Well, 100 years ago, the area where we're in, most people would have probably called it a swamp. You know, it took to get what we have today, another dam.
Uh-huh.
Richard, that's Boston Harbor out there. That's the Atlantic Ocean.
I know it well, Bill.
Now, Mother Nature wants that to go up and down about 12 feet every 12 hours.
Right, it's a tidal body of water, so there's 2 high tides every single day.
That's absolutely correct.
So at that point, the water level at the ocean is too high compared to the basin, right?
The water level is too high compared to the basin, and that's why we're here today, this rainy day, at the new Charles River Dam. This is the structure that keeps the ocean from coming in and flooding the basin.
All right, but that's not all it does.
That's absolutely correct. It's not, because at times, as we mentioned, the harbor is lower than the basin.
Right.
And this dam also keeps the water in the basin from flowing out into the ocean and getting too low.
Now, what about when you have heavy rains like a day like today? Don't you have to get some of the water out of the basin? How do you do that?
We always have to get a little bit of water out of the basin. Normally we use what are called sluices. They're basically tunnels.
Yeah.
And we just open them up when the harbor is low, and we let the water drain out by gravity.
Yeah.
If that's no good, maybe we need a little more capacity, then we're going to use the locks.
So that's where the ships come through.
That's right.
And what if it keeps draining like this?
Oh, if it keeps raining like this, we're going to have to call in the big guns. Get that big artillery out.
Looks like that rain's starting to let up.
Yeah, it definitely is. And there's our beautiful Charles River.
All right, so there's our Charles River Basin upstream. Our harbor is downstream this way.
That's right, but you know, we're actually still walking on top of the Charles River. It's underneath us.
Yeah.
And very close by here is where our sluices are, where we let the water out into the harbor when the harbor's lower than the basin.
Now that's normally by gravity, right?
That's normally by gravity, that's right.
But what if we have a lot of rain like we just had?
Well, if we had maybe an hour and a half of rain like that, that's when we'd have to fire up our 2,700 horsepower diesels.
The big guns.
That's right.
Talked about.
That's
Look
what
at
these are.
How many you got?
We got 6 of these, and if you fire them all at the same time, we're looking at a total flow of about 4 million gallons per minute.
Now that's a pump.
That's a pump.
You know, I tell you, Bill, when we are sitting up on the banks of our river, up at our little place, I don't think we ever realized how much energy and engineering went into making that place look so natural. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for coming by, Richard.
We now have a newly poured and insulated foundation and walls for our addition, which is going to contain a family room downstairs and a new sun porch upstairs. Now, you might remember we've already taken a sun porch off of this house, and you can actually still see some of the remnants. There are the French doors that went from sun porch to family room. Even some of the paneling from the sun porch is still on the house. And when we took off that old sun porch, well, in the corner, we found a big, nasty colony of carpenter ants with all of their eggs. And we thought we did a pretty good job because we just got rid of everything. But apparently, Todd, we didn't do everything we were supposed to.
Well, you get it half right.
Well, we usually shoot for more than half, so what did we forget?
Typically what you want to do, if you expose a carpenter ant colony, you want to remove it as quick as possible.
Well, we got rid of it.
Well, if you had a vacuum, you could suck all the ants right up and physically take them out of there. Because what they do, they grab all their eggs, their larval stage, and they move somewhere.
So they're
gonna
still
move that
here?
colony. Yeah, they're still in there somewhere. And that's what we've been trying to figure out. We've seen a few spots where they're trailing out up here as well as over here, going up and down. And what the trailing is they're basically looking for, they're trying to get out to find food to bring it back to that colony to sustain the colony.
Yep, I see a guy
You look
right
here, you get
here.
them up there, you get a few up there, so.
So what are you going to do about these
I'm going to
guys?
use a localized spot treatment of a non-repellent insecticide. That's going to allow them to go right across it and bring it back and not even know it's there.
All right. So I hear non-repellent insecticide, and I'm thinking that's not too smart. Why non-repellent?
Because we don't want them to know it's there. We just want it to be business as normal for them. They're going to go out and bring it right back to their colony. It's like giving them the plague. They're going to groom each other once they're back there and they pass it on.
So you guys don't actually even have to find the colony. You're going to let the ants do all the hard work.
Correct. Correct.
All right. So that should bring it back into the colony and kill them?
Yep, we see them going right up and down this area here, so.
So spot treatments, what's the alternative? It's something that's
Well,
not
as you
as
saw,
localized.
I used a few ounces of the insecticide. We're trying to minimize the use of pesticides. So we don't really want to do a full band spray around, which it would still be effective in killing the ants if you do a band spray, but it's just using a lot more. You know, we take a little bit more time, figure out where they're going in and out, and you can just minimize the treatments and do it just localized areas.
All right, sounds good to me. That's the carpenter ant problem that we're talking about, but we also found that we've got some termites up front, so let's have a look at
termites
those.
out there in the sills, we'll go check that out.
There's no doubt that we got a serious termite problem. Tommy had to replace 30 feet of sill on the front of this house, so how are you going to kill these buggers, Todd?
Well, what I'm using here is a borate-based solution to hit the untreated wood, and what this will do, once the termites pass over the pressure-treated wood, they're going to try and eat this, it will kill them immediately. It soaks into there for the lifetime of the wood.
All right.
So that's the first phase of the treatment. The second phase to eliminate the colony, because termites live underground, is the bait stations.
And how does the bait station work?
The way the bait station works is we put a cellulose briquette in there they'll feed on. After 45 days, we're going to check this. When we see the active termites in it, we'll replace it with the active bait. They're going to ingest that, bring it back to the colony, and eliminate that colony.
And hopefully we won't have any more termites. All right, well, I appreciate your help. Thank you. So, Tommy, out with the old, in with the new, and let's protect the new while it goes in, because you got a lot of it going in.
Yeah, we got a lot going in. Right here's the new landing for our new front entryway. We've relocated the new window, so we've framed that wall off, and we've even got some pressure-treated sheething down here, another line of protection.
Great, so building is well underway, and we'll continue with that next week. So until then, I'm Kevin O'Connor.
And I'm Tom Silva.
For this old house. Hey, did you know you're supposed to vacuum up those ants?
I know. Why didn't you tell me?
I'm not a vacuum guy. Who vacuums ants?